Hi everyone, this is going to be a short video on lacing a rim, a wheel for a 1967 BMW R60. Um, a lot of the vintage BMWs use the same setup, so this will apply to other bikes as well. It's a 40 spoke rim, 40 spoke wheel. The hub has been, the bearings have been pressed out of the hub. We'll install those later, and then the hub has been cleaned and vapor blasted and is ready to build. And the rim we're using is a chrome reproduction rim from Germany. It's good quality rim, pretty much like the originals. It even has the 5 indentions in the rim like the originals had. Um, Seems like a good quality rim. And then for the spokes and the nipples, here are the spokes, 40 spokes. These are stainless steel just because they'll never rust. I like that. The originals would have been chrome. Each spoke has a retainer like this that fits into the hub. And the retainers are cadmium plated brass from what I can tell. These are the original retainers. Some of the cadmium worn off and you can see the brass underneath. They have indentions that the head of the spoke fits into to keep the spoke from turning when you true the wheel. So those are the spokes, and I've got the 40 spoke nipples in here that we'll use. So since the spokes and nipples are stainless steel, you want to use some anti-seize on the threads of the spoke. So that's what I'm doing here, is just putting a little bit of anti-seize on the heads of each spoke before we build the wheel. This is what I'm using, just some anti-seize lubricant. That'll prevent the stainless steel from galling when we tighten them down. And that's why I'm wearing gloves, because that anti-seize gets on you and you turn silver from head to toe. So anyways, I'll finish putting the anti-seize on the rest of the spokes, and then we'll build this wheel. Okay, I've got all the spokes, threads covered with some anti-seize, and we're going to start building the wheel. So you can start from either side of the hub. I'm going to start from this side, and you'll see that there are 2 spokes that come in crisscross here on each side of the hub. The hole for one is a little bit higher than the hole for the other, so it's easier to start with the lower hole. Put your spoke through there, and then the next spoke will pass on top of it. So that's what we're going to do. Then when you look at your rim, you want to think of these as sets of 4. The drilled holes in the rim. And if you think of a center line passing exactly in the center of the rim, you'll see that 2 of the drilled nipples are slightly on this side of the center line, and then 2 of the nipples will be slightly on the other side of the center line. So when you place your rim down, you'll want to we're going to pass the spokes through the nipples that are just on the top side of the center line, if that makes sense. It will make more sense if I just show you. So like I said, there are 40 spokes, and we can think of them in sets of 4. So what we're going to do is put 10 spokes through in one direction, and then 10 spokes through in the other direction. Flip the wheel over and repeat it for the 20 spokes of the other side. So just take a couple of spokes here, and I'm going to pass them through, like I said, the lower hole in the hub like this, and then, let's do like 3 or 4 of them, and just kind of setting them in there where they go. So obviously these spokes are going to go into a nipple that's pointing this direction, and we want it to be on the top side of the center line here. So let's see here. That would be this one here. So grab one of the nipples, and we can just start threading that one in a little bit. Okay. So once we start that one, we'll count 4 spokes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will be the next one that goes in. We'll count again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the nipple that we're going to use for the next one. Hopefully that makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just starting the spokes into the nipples and not tightening down at all at this point. So let me put the rest of these in, and we'll have 10 of them in at this point. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one will go in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is going to go here. One, two, three, 4. This is the one here. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the first 10 spokes in the wheel. So what we'll do next is put the next 10 spokes in, going the opposite direction, like this. Hope you all can see that. I know the wheel's sitting down. It'd be better to get a overshot over a higher camera angle, but that's what we've got anyway. So I'm just going to put these 10 spokes through where they go. Okay, and we're going to start these, and again, we're going to be using the nipples that are facing this direction and are on the top side of the center line. And once we start the first one, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where the next one is going to go, and so forth. Work your way around the rim. Pause the video and then I'll show you when we get these done. Okay, so we've got the first 20 spokes started in here. You'll kind of see the crisscross pattern here. Haven't tightened these up at all, so just starting a few threads in. We're going to flip the whole wheel over, and then we're going to start lacing this side. Same way on this side. There are holes in the hub that are, one is higher than the other, so we're going to start with the lower hole first, just because it'll be easier to get the spokes in like that. And there are 10 of those facing that direction, so go ahead and I like to just drop them in there so they're in the right spots. This. And that's the 10 of them that go in that direction. And again, just you'll see where they line up with the holes in the nipples in the rim, and just go ahead and start the spokes into the nipples, counting 1, 2, 3, 4 each time. It's hard to make a mistake there, but because it's pretty obvious, but that's how they'll lace up. So I'll get the rest of these in and show you that. Okay, we're working our way around and down to the last 3 spokes here. And when you're inserting these spokes and lacing these wheels, nothing should be forced. You shouldn't. They should go together easily. If you find out something is not going in easily, you're probably doing something wrong. So the spokes should just slide in. There shouldn't be any interference with other spokes. Um, like this one shouldn't pass underneath the other spoke. It should pass on top of it. So just work your way around until they're all in place like that. I'm going to put the final 10 nipples in at this point, and then we'll show you what that looks like. Okay, and there is the laced wheel after we're done. All 40 spokes are in. After they're in, none of these are tight, but I've just snugged them up so that there's just like one or two threads showing on each one here. So they're pretty equal, but they're all loose. So this wheel is ready to be trued. That's a whole separate process. This is the easy part. Truing them can be trickier. It takes some experience to do that. You can build the wheel and take it to a person in your area to true. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I true them myself. Just depends. It takes me a while to get it right, but it's kind of a satisfying process too. But the wheel should go together. There shouldn't be any interference with the spokes. Like I said, if you have to force something, it's probably not right. So you'll see that the two spokes, the spokes on this side go into the nipples that are on this side of the center line, and the spokes on the back side go into the nipples that are on the opposite side of the center line there. That's kind of how you know you've got them right. And this is called a double cross rim. So if you look at each spoke, it crosses 1, 2 spokes. This spoke crosses 1, 2. So each of the spokes crosses 2 other spokes. I guess they call that a double cross pattern. But some of the very early BMWs in the 1950s used a single cross rim, and if you have one of those hubs or one of those rims, you need to have a matching set. You can't use a single cross hub or rim with one of these double cross hubs or rims. So, but starting in I think the late 50s, they went to this pattern, the double cross pattern. So the hubs and rims should all lace up like that. The next thing we'll do is we'll true the wheel and then probably put the bearings in, and this will be ready to go. Thanks.